Welcome back to Noble Thoughts. I'm your host, Brittany Noble. Today, we're going beyond the plate with someone who's redefining what it means to put Indiana on the culinary map. Our guest today is Larry Dickerson, the visionary behind Culinary Crossroads, a statewide initiative uniting chefs, entrepreneurs, educators, and food lovers to showcase Indiana's food scene. Larry is also the driving force, bringing the World Food Championships to Indianapolis. From workforce development to food as a storytelling tool, Larry's work reminds us that what we eat and who gets to create it matters. Let's dig in. Larry, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here with you this morning. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background. How did your experiences shape your work with food?
Yeah, well, we hear a lot of times here in the state of back home again in Indiana, and I guess that really falls true for myself. I grew up in Indiana, small town, middle town, east of Anderson, just northeast of Indianapolis, and had a wonderful Norman Rockwellish, growing up period of time, and had the opportunity to go to school at General Motors Institute, work for General Motors. This is at a time where a lot of our fellow Hoosiers can remember when we had a significant footprint in the automotive industry. A lot of that's coming back now. And after that work, I had the opportunity to go learn about our American political system. So that got me involved in local, state, and national politics. Excuse me. And from there, had an opportunity then to work with state government, and specifically on tourism promotion. Did a lot of work with the state of Michigan on developing a system there. And from there, it took me to a number of other states to work with them, as well as convention and visitors bureaus and local destination marketing organizations. All that is to say that in those particular roles, I had a lot of exposure to the hospitality industry, and specifically on the culinary side. And as your viewers can appreciate, anytime that you travel, not only anytime we travel, but in our communities, our lifestyles are really enhanced by what is offered there in the culinary scene.
And so tell us a little bit more about what led you to Culinary Crossroads.
Yeah, well, in those roles that I was telling you about, after I finished and traveled, lived in a lot of really great places around the United States, had an opportunity to live in Europe a little bit as well. And I saw the changing, just like in any industry that people would know, a lot of changes taking place in the way that tourism promotion was done. And quite frankly, the way that those that travel were going to go about getting their information. In the old days, we would have gone to the tourism organizations. They would have sent us out a travel guide. We would have looked at that, or we would have looked online. And now we have these wonderful little walking computers in our hands to where we can just go and Google it and Yelp. And so when I came back, I had finished up. I'd lived in New York. My two sons were off to do their thing, so I no longer needed to be in New York. So I came back. And it was interesting that during that course of that 25 or 30 years, I always would end up flying in and out of Indianapolis. And I saw it grow up as I went along. Every time I go there, we'd see all the enhancements, the beautiful airport that we had. The convention centers would just continue to grow. I stayed in a lot of the properties that were there. And I stayed in touch with a lot of folks that were in the public and private sector here in Indianapolis, as well as around the state. And through that, I had an opportunity to have an audience with Lieutenant Governor Crouch. And as your viewers may know, in that Lieutenant Governor's office, they oversee not only agriculture and the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, but a significant role that they play is running travel and tourism promotion for the state. And I had some ideas that I wanted to share. As I tell a lot of my friends that are in the golfing world, I'm playing the back nine, so I had a lot of ideas to share about the way I thought that we may go about doing tourism promotion in a different way. Along the same time, when I came back through some of those same friends, I had a chance to really meet some of the real leaders in the culinary space in Indianapolis. And these women and men that were running the restaurants were saying, if you're going to go out here and talk about promoting the state, you need to let them know about this wonderful culinary scene that we have here in Indianapolis and around the area. And I thought that was a really strong idea to do. And like so many activities that we have, they had some ideas, and some different ideas were thrown around about how we would do it. We could do pop-up dinners, maybe in some outlying areas, go to Louisville, go to Grand Rapids, and then come back and do something in Indiana. But the problem with that, like so many initiatives, is that once you do that, it's sort of like water in a sponge. You get it in there and then it dries out. And there was no ongoing narrative, if you will. So with that thought process, I thought, well, how about if we work on creating a brand? And thus came Culinary Crossroads, the people, products, places, and services that define Indiana's culinary landscape and make it the place where people want to live, work, and play. And the low-hanging fruit is that people would, go to our restaurants, buy our wonderful protein and produces. But the more significant and the strategic side of it, Lieutenant Governor Crouch was one who really advocated this, was it really could be a tool for workforce recruitment and workforce retention. Because if you can get people to come in here and have an experience from the culinary, like any time when you're going to get something going, why don't we sit down and have dinner and talk about it? So if we can move them in here and have that experience, then we get an opportunity to really start to talk about all the other leverageable assets that we have. Our wonderful educational institutions. We have some of the top corporate brand leaders in the world. We feed the world with our protein and produces. So when you get them in here, if you can bring them in and you can highlight something that people can easily relate to, then you start those discussions about why, when you look at culinary, it really is sort of the connection to shaping Indiana's future and being a leader around the country.
How do you describe your organization and your mission?
Well, the organization is really a facilitator, sort of a songmaster. We're creating this great song that people say, you know what, that's got a good beat to it. I like to sing that song. And it's a brand that we're looking to give away. I mean, it would be something that you could share with your friends or your viewers can. They say, well, why do you love Indianapolis, or why do you love the state of Indiana? You'd say, well, look, first and foremost, we're the culinary crossroads of America. You come in here and you have some great experiences. And oh, by the way, if you come here, let me tell you about all these wonderful things that we have going on in our state. Our communities there that are easily accessible, our schools that are some of the best schools in the world. So it's our mission is to really to get everybody to sing that same song. It's something that's fun. It's something exciting. The other thing about it is, I'm setting up here this morning in Fort Wayne, but we've done dinners from Terre Haute to New Albany to up in Elkhart. And so if you think about it, if you're a restaurateur or you're a business or you're a resident, you can say you're in the Culinary Crossroads, whether it's Northeast, Northwest, Central Indiana, all around the state.
And you're not just, you're really connecting people.
We're connecting people. That's exactly right. We have wonderful institutions, the public and private sector that are out there. Everybody has a job that they do. And everybody knows a lot of times that they have to stay within their lane in order to do their job well. We hear people talk about like people get stuck in silos. And that always is sometimes is seen as a criticism of those organizations. But the fact of the matter is that they're busy. So if you take our travel and tourism organizations, they do a great job of going out there and talking primarily about leisure travelers. If you take our Indiana Economic Development Corporation, they go and they talk about tax rates and educational levels. If you talk to our mayors that are out there, they talk about safety and lifestyle. All of those have to stay focused on that. But if you go and you sit down and you talk with each and every one of those institutions and the people within those institutions, they would agree with what we're talking about here today. That culinary really helps to define the lifestyle, that really helps to make it enhance. And this gets at things that people are always trying to work on, like brain drain. We hear a lot of times about we educate folks at our universities and colleges, but they take off and they leave from here. If in fact they see Indiana has all these things to offer, then that changes the thought process and the decisions that they make. So, we're sort of like corralling. I always have enjoyed getting people together and get them on the same note and get them excited about something. We get excited about the Fever or the Pacers or the Colts because they represent what we really know is true about our state. And there's a precedent for this too that's really exciting. If you go all the way back to where we were the crossroads of America, I think it was somewhere in 1930 that they actually passed legislation to create that motto of Crossroads of America. But then you go to the Hallman family and other people that were in auto racing. They decided that, you know what, we're gonna get everybody talking about that we're the racing capital of the world. We're the greatest spectacle in racing. What happened? Everybody sees us in that vein. And a lot of our leaders 30, 40 years ago decided that we were going to be where champions are crowned, and we brought amateur sports here to the state. So this is along those same lines that you get everybody on that song sheet. You get everybody on a song sheet that they actually know can be delivered because we actually do have those lifestyles. And that becomes very, very powerful.
You helped bring the World Food Championships to here in Indiana. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yes, that was a really exciting, a lot of patience, a lot of staying on it, and going back to Culinary Crossroads of wanting to show the world. I got introduced to the World Food Championships from some of our leading culinary leaders here in the city, and they have been going to compete. And Team Indiana still is very, very competitive and has a lot of great chef talent that's on that. When I heard about it, they said, you need to go see this, and went down there. First time that I went to see it, it was still down in Orange Beach, Alabama. And think about 42 states, 10 or 15 different countries, home cooks, professional chefs, professional barbecue teams competing in 10 such categories. And when we saw that, a little light went off and said, wow, if we can work to bring that here, then think about those influencers. If we're trying to get folks around the country and around the world to know about the Culinary Crossroads of America, what's a better way than to bring them here and have them to experience that firsthand? So we kept our head down on it. The other thing, too, in talking about how you build this coalition was to get that done. I mean, again, I was a facilitator. There was a lot of organizations and individuals that helped to bring that together. But we ultimately had to come up with a pretty significant licensing fee to get it to come here. And when we brought it here and people finally had a chance to see it, they were so excited about it. And I think also the World Food Championships leadership was excited as well. And that's why we're thrilled to be having them back here in October. Isn't that cool?
Nice. That is so amazing. How do major events like this help reshape outside perceptions of Indiana's culture?
Oh, I think it comes in here that they realize, we have some great things that people know about. They know about Hoosier hospitality. They know about our tenderloins. They know about our state fair. And those are wonderful, wonderful attributes that we never should be diminished. But what they don't necessarily know is to recognize, to say, we didn't really realize just how we feed the world here, with Red Gold or Maple Leaf Farms or some of the other protein and produce producers. And then they go to our restaurants, and when they talk to the folks there that are running those restaurants, they realize that they have access to those protein and produces, and they have a lot of talent that's there. And so it starts to change the way they look at it. And then they start to realize when they talk to some of our folks from Team Indiana or others, it says, less than 2 hours from here, you can go up to Fort Wayne, or you can be in the beautiful southern area of the state and go down to New Albany, which is recognized these days a lot of times as the Brooklyn of Louisville. Or you can, or you can just go anywhere in the donut counties up to Westfield or Carmel, name an area, and you can have these wonderful experiences. And now when they're sitting here and seeing that firsthand, they go back and say, you know what, I think I'm going to go back there. Or if I come in for a conference, or if I come in for the Indianapolis 500, I may likely come in a few days earlier, or I might stay, a few days more from that. But then a lot of them go back, and these folks that compete, they also are involved with businesses. And so now they start to think about, maybe we should really think about putting our business in Indiana. And that's the other thing about going back to, workforce recruitment and workforce retention, is that we have a lot of people that say, I'd like to go to work for this particular company. And that company says, I'd love to have that individual come and work for us. But they haven't made that decision about whether or not they want to come and live, work, and play in Indiana. If they actually see the lifestyle, if they actually know that wow, I've heard that that's the Culinary Crossroads of America, then that HR director that's either recruiting someone or trying to make sure that person doesn't leave to go somewhere else, we really help to make their job a little bit easier.
Larry, you've also implemented some education initiatives in your organization.
Yeah, well, we we actually work with Ivy Tech. We're not really the educator on it, but one of our significant partners has been Ivy Tech Community College, specifically their culinary program. It's a wonderful asset that we have in the state, 19 campuses, and they have 5 of those campuses that have culinary programs. And one of the things that I learned from working in tourism promotion, a lot of those areas also were the film divisions. And there was a lot of incentives for bringing film production to different places around the country. And the ones that were ultimately successful, Georgia, North Carolina, it came about because they had a farm system that brought the frontline workforce that was there for them to grow. Similarly, if you take a look at our hospitality industry, having the hospitality programs at the various colleges and universities, and specifically the culinary program at Ivy Tech, is very critical. So we've been big advocates to sort of raise the awareness of the fact that we have that kind of an institution in the state. And they've just been a great partner. Sue Elsperman, who recently retired, was a key leader on helping us get off the ground on this.
Where do you see Culinary Crossroads in the next 5 years or so?
In the next 5 years, I get it to where when you walk into a restaurant and somebody is having their guests that are in there, and the guests are sitting at one of our restaurants or they're living in one of our small communities, that when they talk to their friends from around the country, they'll sit there and say, "Oh, you know what? Are you going to come and visit?" They say, "Absolutely, I'm going to come and visit. Why wouldn't I?" All around the country, people know Indiana is the culinary crossroads of America. 5 years from now, everybody will be singing that song.
For young people that are thinking about careers in food but may be afraid, anything to say to them?
Uh, Make sure you have passion.
Mm.
If you're going into it, you got to have passion, because in that world, it's like any particular endeavor. It's a lot of hard work, but it is very, very rewarding. And I would say, if you think you have a passion for it, jump in, because where else do you get a chance to where you're live on stage every day? And that's what you have in the culinary world.
Larry, how can we support you? How can we get involved in your mission?
You can go there, and every time that you get a chance to talk to some of those other anchors, and they're doing stories, and they're bringing in there and anything that has to do, and it gets over to the point of saying, what makes your place special? You say, well, you know what? It's probably because we are the culinary crossroads of America. If it gets influencers like yourself who have an audience, and you use that and you find ways, the more you use it, the more you realize it really does sort of fit in. And that's the way you can help spread the word, and like I said, it really is as simple as that. Really makes a lot of sense when you think about it, right? If you think about the whole idea of, like, you sit down and have conversations about everything in your life. If you think about sitting down and having a conversation, and you do it around food, and you come here and you see the kind of experiences that we have, then it opens up to see all the other things that we have in this country. And I'll just conclude by going back from when I started in that same Norman Rockwellish community that I was in. Those are coming back. They're coming back because of the expansion of Indianapolis, but they're coming back a lot of times because it's sort of reverse engineering. You're getting a small little restaurant, an entrepreneur that's coming in there. People start to come in and see the community, and they look around and they say, wow, you know what? I think this might be a good place to come here to live, work, and play. And in today's world, where that really resonates is that what's separate from 30 or 40 years ago, there's probably 35% of the workforce that they can live anywhere that they want to in the world and still do their work. And when you take a look at Indiana, and you see those communities, you see the access to all the different areas that you can get to. You know that you can fly to anywhere in the world from Indianapolis Airport. Indiana looks pretty darn good. And it looks even better when you realize it's the culinary crossroads of America. And by the way, with the World Food Championships, we are the food sports capital of America. And we're going to hold on to that till somebody tells us different.
Let's go. Larry Dickerson, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your noble thoughts. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.